Hey, what's up guys, Alex here. Thank you for checking this video and welcome to the episode number 56 of the series of tutorial on how to build a premium theme for WordPress. Welcome again. In the previous tutorial, we finally concluded, or at least we finished, all the important stuff or the important encoding section to build our sunset popular posts for our sidebar. And if you remember, I left you with a quick homework, and the homework was to complete this section with whatever you wanted. Like, I decided to just add a comment section. We use this little icon that we already have and link the title of the post to the actual permalink of the post itself and the comment to the comment section. I use the function that we already built for this comment area just to extract the comment part and apply it inside the widget. So it was pretty easy. If you didn't do this, don't worry, you can download all the code from the GitHub repo, but I really suggest you to try to give a little bit of customization to this widget. Now you have all the skills and all the knowledge that are necessary to build something custom in this custom widget area. So have fun, try to create something new, and when you're satisfied with your widget, you can come back to this video and we can go on a new section. So I know that we didn't build the gallery widget or the links widget, and something's missing based on the design, but I want to push back those options probably in the next series when we're gonna we're gonna learn how to build plugins. So we're gonna keep those for an upcoming series. Right now we have pretty much all the knowledge to build a custom sidebar with custom widgets, so we can conclude this section. What we have to do right now is finally building the pages, but most importantly, we have to finally build the front end of the custom contact form that we created in our backend. In the Sunset admin section inside the contact form subpage, we have just a simple option to activate the contact form, and we don't have any real extended functionality here. So here we're gonna do, in the next lesson, we're gonna extend here, maybe adding some customization to the contact form on how to customize the emails, how to customize all the options. But what I want to do now, I want to create finally the front end for the contact page and having a shortcode to implement the contact form inside a specific page, because we don't want to limit the appearance of the contact form only for the contact page. We want this to be dynamic so the user can decide and manage whatever he wants the content form to be. So let's go back in our front end. If now in this situation we click on the contact page, we're gonna have basically the identical situation that we have with the index, because of course WordPress we didn't create a file called page.php, but the only thing that the system can use is the index.php, and here we have basically is handling the contact page as a post, as a single post. So we have the usual things. We have also the load more, but it's like start loading other posts, but this is wrong. So we have to completely build a new page, and we have to actually build the page template. So let's go back in our code editor. Let's access the index.php, and basically we have to almost duplicate this section, but we have to remove all the custom Ajax functionality to load the new stuff. So let's create a new file in this exact same section, and the new file is going to be called page.php. So here in this main folder of our theme, we're going to have the page.php. Let's, for like the sake of time, let's copy completely this part and let's paste the entire code of our index.php inside the page.php. So now we have the header and the footer, and this is great. We have the same structure and we want to maintain the same structure, but here I want to remove the pagination links or the pagination attribute. We can leave the sunset post container. Here we want to remove the page limit because we don't need to scroll pages. We have the post. We can leave the content instead of the get post format. Here we want to return just simply the content page, so we can customize the type of content to accept a page. We can remove this comment because we don't need to have any reveal. We can remove this div, nothing is happening. And then we can finally remove the last part with the load more, because we don't need to load more anything. It's just a page. So let's save it. Let's access our template parts, that is the section that we're accessing to grab the content, and let's duplicate the single.php, that it's basically just a simple file that it's returning the entire content of our single post template. But we're going to use the same exact structure for our page. This episode is brought to you by HostGator, the powerful, easy, and affordable web hosting. If you're confused by virtual hosts, server settings, and database configurations, HostGator is the solution for you, with 24/7 support, award-winning tools, and one-click script install options. Get your own domain today and use the promo code HALICAD to get 25% off. So let's create a new file called content-page.php. Then let's open the single.php. Let's copy this entire code. Let's access the content-page.php and let's paste it here. Maybe remove all these last part. We don't need it, of course. Let's save it and let's see. Let's change here the comment to page template. Let's save it. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh this page. And now, as you can see, we have the content. We have exactly what we have inside our backend. So if we access pages, the content page, here we have, this is the content of my content page. And of course, here we have the content title, the posted on all the meta elements, and then we have the content. And if the comments are closed or open, our custom footer, our custom sunset footer is taking care of showing this stuff. You can control these inside the page in the same way you control inside a post. And if you notice here, we don't have anything below. And if you don't know where this section or how to control the comment section inside a page, no worries, you can activate hidden sections with the screen options label here, the drop down that you have. You can activate, of course, the comment section, the discussion to keep track of all the trackbacks and allow comments, and all the custom fields that we could have, or the author, the slug. So if something is missing in a default WordPress installation, most likely is because it's just unchecked the box relative to show the specific section in the admin area. So just open the screen options and check all the sections that you want to activate in this specific admin section. Here we want to actually completely remove the comments. We don't want to give the users the ability to comment a specific page. So let's do that. First of all, let's remove it also in the administration area, but then we can access our code editor again, and here we can remove the sunset posted footer, and we completely avoid the option to incorporate the comment section that we did in the single.php. So let's save it. Let's go back in our front end, refresh, and now we have just the title and then the content. Now we have to style this content in the same way we did in our design file. If we access our design file, you will notice that here the situation is pretty similar to what we have right now. The title is properly styled. We don't have any meta options here for like posted on or sections of tags or categories. We have just the content and then the contact form if the contact form is activated. So let's style this top part, and let's take care of printing the contact form. Let's access back our code editor, and here the only thing that we have to do is just remove the sunset posted meta because we don't need that. So we access back, we have the contact title. Another thing that we want to do, we want to remove this big gap here that is necessary only for the home page and for our posts. So let's access back the page.php and remove the sunset posts container and just maintain the default style of the container of WordPress. Let's access here, let's refresh, and now we have a more decent styling. Of course, this page can be called content, contact me, or whatever, and this is our content. Let's have a little bit of more content with some lorem ipsum. Perfect. Now what we have to do, we have to give the users or the developers the ability to dynamically call the contact form with a shortcode. And the easiest way to do it is to create our own custom shortcode in a way that we already did in a previous lesson. So let's go back in our code editor. Let's access our ink folder. Inside the templates, we have the sunset contact form. That is the form that we are calling, the page that we're calling inside our sunset admin area. And in here, we can write the instructions for the user with the shortcode that we want to use. So let's go down here and let's write use this shortcode to activate the contact form inside page or a post. And maybe page is uppercase. Here we can give it a little bit of style. And now here on another line, we can just simply use the code tag and write our shortcode that in my case, I want to be simply contact_form. That's it. Save it. Let's go back in our administration panel. Let's access the contact form section in our sunset. And here we have the shortcut. Of course, we can change it a little bit and change the style. So maybe let's incorporate this into another paragraph. And that's pretty much it. That's perfect. Of course, we can style this page to make it look better. But for now, this is the part that will do the trick. So let's copy this part. Let's access our pages, contact, and let's paste the contact form right here. And let's update. Of course, without doing absolutely anything, this shortcode is going to print directly just the text. So we need to create the shortcode. Let's go back in our code editor. And if we remember, we already created a bunch of shortcodes. So it's pretty easy to do it. Let's access our shortcode and let's simply duplicate a function. For example, the first one is the tooltip, and let's paste it here with a small comment. So it's contact form shortcode. Let's paste it here and let's call it sunset contact form. And here I simply want this to be contact form. This is my type of shortcode. So the shortcode attributes, it's completely empty because we don't have anything. So let's return an empty array. And here we can specify the type of shortcode code that the system has to recognize. And in my case, it's simply contact form. And we can remove this part. And for now, let's return just this is the contact form generated HTML. And here, of course, let's add the shortcode call contact form that it's gonna call the function sunset contact form. Save it. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh. And now we have here, this is the contact form generated HTML. Now what we can do, instead of returning HTML, we can include a unique file, in my case a PHP file, where we can style everything properly in order to create a custom contact form. This is easier because if you notice, like our design file here, the contact form is going to be kind of complicated. Not too complicated, but at least we need to implement some custom code in order to have a proper submit of the form and having some messages returned for the user. We could potentially, of course, write everything in line here, but this is gonna turn into a really long section, and we don't want to have HTML injected too much inside our PHP, so always better keep everything separated. In my case, I can simply include templates /contact form.php. Let's save it and let's create a file here inside the templates area called, of course, contact form.php. And here, let's build the form, the action. Let's leave it like that for now. And let's create a bunch of HTML boilerplate for our three type of inputs. So we have the first input that is text type, and we want a placeholder of your name, just like our design. So your name, your email, and your message. We have the placeholder, your name. Let's have an ID of name and name of name, of course. That makes sense. And let's use HTML5 to require this type of form, this type of input, so the user cannot submit the form without having this type of input. Here, let's put a simple method to be post, and let's wrap this into the Bootstrap type of HTML structure to format a proper form. Div class form group. Let's wrap this into the div, and let's give it a class of form control. That is the native class of Bootstrap to have a form control, of course. We don't want to use any label because we're going to use the placeholder. So let's completely duplicate this part. And in this case here we have your email. So let's change this into your email. Here ID and name can be email, and here also the text type, because we're using HTML5, we can convert it into an email. So this input is going to recognize automatically if the user created or wrote an email address or just a simple text that doesn't make any sense. Let's create a little bit of space so it's more organized. And the last part is going to be a text area. So form control, and we can remove all of this and we can have a text area with the name of message, the ID of message. Let's remove colon rows. We're going to use CSS to style these. And here we're going to have a class as usual of form control. And also in this case, we want to have a required type of HTML5 because we need this message, and the placeholder we can have your message as well. Let's save it. And the last thing that we want to do is create a submit button. So in this case, we can use HTML button. Type has to be submit. Class, we're gonna for now use the default class of Bootstrap, that is button and button default. And the value is submit, if I remember properly from the design. Yes, it's submit. And that's it. Let's save it. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh. And now if you notice, we have the form, but the form is getting created, is getting required on top of everything, not in the actual location of our shortcode. This is because PHP is including the file that we are asking in our source code. So if you go back in our shortcodes.php, this include is getting called before the actual content of our contact page. To fix this, we have to use a bunch of PHP function to incorporate a file inside an already generated HTML structure and not include it on top of everything. So we have to respect this situation. First of all, we have to start with the ob_start PHP function. This ob start basically it turn on the output buffering. This ob stands for output buffering, and the output buffering basically, if it's turned on, it will prevent to any output sent from the script to be injected or to be outputted immediately. So if we start this, whatever thing we're gonna write or we're gonna include is not gonna be outputted immediately. We're not gonna see it in the page immediately because we are telling to the script to not output this thing, this file or whatever thing we want immediately. We have to wait until we say different, until we say so. So that is great. When are we satisfied? Now we can finally use the return, and to return whatever things we included before or right after the ob start, we have to use the function ob_get_clean, and basically this PHP function will return the output buffer contents and delete the current output buffer. So it's gonna prevent this to be printed immediately, injected in the ob start, and then just returning the cleaner HTML version of whatever. So these two functions of PHP are always used together, and this is the typical structure that you see, or you pretty much gonna see in every type of script that includes a specific PHP file or HTML file. You have an ob start, you have all the content that you wanna inject inside the output buffering, and then whenever you're ready, you can return the output buffering. And with this return, we're gonna respect the default functionality of a shortcode that returns the HTML or whatever code we are writing inline inside the content. And we're not just including a PHP file that is printed before everything. So let's save it. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh. And now, as you notice, we have the form that it's right underneath at the end of the content because it's the position where we have the shortcode. Let's give it a try and let's move this shortcode from here to in between these two paragraphs. So let's put it here, update. Let's refresh, and there you go. Now we have this form in between these two paragraphs because it's respecting the structure of the location of our shortcode. Let's put it back where we had it before because I don't want that to be in between two paragraphs. Doesn't really make sense. So let's have it at and that is perfect. Here, of course, you can use also require, or if you want to use the default functionality of WordPress, you can always use the get template part type of function of WordPress, but using a simple include, it's fine, especially if we have just simple HTML, or for now we have just simple HTML, because now here we're gonna do something pretty cool with CSS and JavaScript, but we're gonna continue this in the next lesson. So it's pretty much it for today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. And if you want, you can spend a couple of minutes to check the support me page on my website, where you can find all different ways and methods to support me, support my channel, and help me to do better videos and better tutorials for you. Thank you again, guys, and until the next lesson, as usual, happy coding!